welcome to Check It Out, Comrade, an indie game podcast where every 2 weeks we bring you 2 indie games and tell you what we like about them. I'm Nick Lauber.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this week we're doing Infinifactory and Nuclear Throne.
Yeah, and so everyone notices and talks about my cat being loud.
Yes.
And I figured it out just now. It's because we record the show late.
And he's ready for beds?
Yeah, like with the time zone difference. When I record with Cole, he's already 3 hours later than me.
Right.
So we can't record late in my time. So we're just quiet and sleeping. But when we record Check It Out, Comrade, he thinks it's time for dinner, which like it's not for another hour and a half or so, but he starts this shit up around 2 hours before dinner.
Gotcha.
So in case anyone is ever wondering, like, we solved the mystery.
I don't mind. I like his guest spots.
Yeah, I mean, I like it too. I don't think anyone's ever seriously complained. Anyone who has, go fuck yourself. Like, it doesn't, it doesn't really happen. But yeah. So so tell me what's cool about Infinifactory.
Yeah, so Infinifactory, it is a 3D first-person. I like to call them programmatic puzzlers. Like, it's very programming-based puzzle game. It's from Zachtronics, who did Space Camp before this, and a couple other web-based games that are of a similar vein. And they've done some other stuff. They did Infiniminer, which this obviously has the name from, and inspired Minecraft and stuff. So they're a cool bunch, and this is their latest game. And yeah, it's just a really neat set of puzzle mechanics that make for I think a very interesting and fun puzzle game with kind of a cool story that doesn't need to be there, but I think they played in well.
Yeah, it's a little bit over. I mean, it's not the newest game we've ever done. Like, both the games we're doing now are a little bit older.
Yeah.
So this one, and it's in early access, but that's really a technicality.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to add to it.
I think mainly they've done a little bit of like bug fixy stuff, but mostly what they've done since it's gone into early access has been like literally just more levels, like just adding more content. So
it's very it feels very feature complete, and we do a lot of early access stuff on the show, and that's always kind of something to talk about. Mm-hmm. This is one of the the better early access games as far as that aspect goes,
for sure.
What it boils down to is you're building factories. Mm-hmm. For this alien race, in the game, and you do it through kind of Minecraft blocks. They're higher res than that, but like just 1x1 blocks that you create. Mm-hmm. And you have a source of blocks that can have certain patterns on them, and destination blocks, and you have to fill up those destination spheres.
Right.
And you get these kind of relatively limited. I'm sure it expands later in the game, which I didn't get to. Set of tools your basic thing is like a conveyor belt, just to move things, but then ultimately you have to weld things. And then you get into the more programming stuff where you have to actually do circuits and kind of triggers. Yeah. So you get these little if then kind of statement things that you do, which is the foundation of computer programming. And it is kind of like it's doing the complicated shit in Minecraft. Like when you see the people who make calculators. Yeah. Like you could do that in this if you had unlimited resources and stuff. I feel like you could make something like that. Yeah, there's some like open sandbox maps that people have created cool Minecrafty computery type stuff in. Yeah. And it is it's really interesting. It's really hard. Yes. At least for me, like it is a kind of thinking that I'm not good at, and it makes me feel really stupid, which I don't think that I am a dumb person, but I do when I play this game. Which isn't a bad thing about it. It's just like everyone has their strengths. Right. And like I conceptually get this stuff, but it is hard. Like it is very hard for me. And I'm not saying it is too hard or it's a problem with the game. I think what it is it's a very singular kind of puzzle game. Yes. Like this game has a laser focused audience, I think. Yeah, and I told you when I brought up this game, I was like, this is the nickiest game we've ever played. Like this is super nicky. So this is extremely up my alley. And even me, like as someone who like enjoys programming and stuff and has enjoyed other games of this ilk, man, like this game gets really, really challenging. It is. So like the way that I think about it is you have to choose. So one, you have to be the person who that's the kind of puzzle game you like, because like this is a unique kind of puzzle game. Most puzzle games are not like this. Right. And I think that like your value in this is how much, because when you get it, it's like, it is immensely satisfying. Yes. And the amount that is satisfying is commensurate with the amount of work you put into it. But sometimes that's going to be a lot of work. Yeah. like in this game. And if that's what you're chasing, like if that's that feeling of just like, I figured something out, like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, this game is really good for that.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, that's definitely exactly key of how this game operates, and feeds that reward into you. Is just like, man, you got through this really difficult challenge in order to complete this puzzle. There's some that took even me, like I said, even as someone who really likes these games, man, there's some that I spent hours on and had to come back and like retweak and couldn't sort out for what had to totally demolish my solution and restart multiple times. Like it can definitely take the wind out of you as far as how much challenge ends up coming into the later games, but the relief of finally solving it and getting a working machine is just incredible.
Yeah, it's never holds your hand. Like, it's really pretty self-directed, and even the tutorials aren't particularly like gentle or direct, right. I feel like even like when you get down to the first one with like the circuits, the circuitry, and when you're doing stuff like that, like, it's a super simple thing to do, but you have to start thinking in terms of like, oh, I can trigger events based on, a yes, no.
Right. Based on this cube moving past this other cube.
Yeah. Like I now have this branching state that I need to manipulate. And like, that's just, you don't usually think that way. Like I liken it to something like Braid, where like, Braid, and I'm kind of in the camp that I think Braid is a little bit overrated. Like, I like Braid, but like, it wasn't my favorite game of all time, but it was also a really weird puzzle game.
I agree, yeah.
Like, it did challenge you to think in a way that like you're not expected to. Like, puzzle platformers tend to be different than this.
Yeah, so the way the game kind of introduces you to the mechanics at the start is more handholdy than it gets later. Like, you actually have these you're walking to these very small rooms, and they explain the very basic concepts of conveyor belts and moving stuff around and all that. And then everything after that, all the new mechanics as you get further and further into the game, are all just projected on this one-page diagram. And it's like these alien overloads are just like, this is all you need in order to figure out what we're trying to get you to do here. And it can definitely like not be enough to fully understand the mechanics of something right off the bat. So yeah, kind of the nice thing about it though is that you can just play around with it, put stuff down however you want, and it's not basically you're in a sandbox mode completely until you manage to fulfill the requirement. Yeah. So it definitely, the difficulty definitely ramps up in like a very linear way, in that you'll learn how to branch something out, or how to branch something into kind of two sectors because it needs two different parts to be made, or make use of specific tools, and then everything just builds on top of that. So now the next one requires even more branching, and the next one requires even more wiring, complex wiring around all your obstacles, and it just ramps it up more and more and more. And it's all the same mechanics, but to try and figure out how to fit that all, especially into like limited space, can get really crazy real fast.
Well, and the other thing that's really clever about this, and we talk about this a lot since we cover indie games, and this feels like a domain of the indie sphere, is like this built-in optimization that allows you to have these kind of layers of gameplay. So like, if you like this, like the way I'm going to play a game like this is just to get the puzzle, and whatever works. Like, I'm happy I made a machine, but at the end you're rated by the normal things, which are like time and but you're also this footprint thing, which is like how many pieces you used. I think so. Optimizing it is also and it tells you, like, you can find what other people have on a thing, so what the best possible, or it tells you the best possible, I think.
It ranks you against your, I think your Steam friends specifically, gives you their numbers, and then it also gives like a global averaging, as far as like, this is how many cycles most people do on like a bell curve type thing. So it measures you on cycles, like how many ticks of the program essentially it takes for you to complete it, as well as you said, footprint, which is, I think it's just space taken up in the like XY, Z doesn't really count. So if you stack blocks on top of each other, that doesn't add to your footprint, but the amount of space you're taking up in the X and Y is.
So like it does have this room for manic optimization.
Yeah.
Like I want to read the first review that's on Steam here for this game.
Yeah, please.
So Entity, with, do you want to give me an over-under on how many hours this guy has on record? Don't look it up. Like, just...
Yeah, I almost scrolled to it and stopped. Someone reviewed it. Is it positive review?
Yes.
80. Let's say 80 is my guess.
How about 427?
What the fuck?
Yeah. So like this guy, 427 hours on record, early access. And the part that he says that's interesting is like, if you like spending 6 hours to shave one cycle off a solution for one of the puzzles just to beat another guy in the high score list, if that sounds awesome, get this game.
Yeah.
And like, so there's room for that user.
Yep.
Right? Like, there's a lot of people who have north of 40 hours in the game, and I don't, based on everything I've read, like, it doesn't really take that just to kind of get through the main game as is.
I've spent 24 hours on record, and mind you, I got this right when it first came out and was kind of obsessed with it for a bit. So I've done some of that cycle optimization type things and was sharing a lot in the SA thread and like, guys, look how crazy of a small solution I managed to get for this level. Mm-hmm. I think I beat the game in under 10 hours.
Yeah, it's not a huge game. What it is that if you want, there's room for it to be bigger than it is.
Yeah.
Which that's huge. You know, that's a really, and like, games can do that in different ways. Like Isaac does it through like unlimited replayability,
right?
You know, through these random factors. And this game does it through that, like incentivizing arcade style high scores,
right?
And stuff.
And it's cool that that's something that can be done in a puzzle game. There's nothing. We talked about Sokoban in a game recently, and so in the Snowman one, and so like Sokoban is a puzzle designed to have exactly one solution. Like that's what's clean about Sokoban is that there's always this like, you know, you can make basic ones that obviously will have multiple solutions, but the more complex ones, the whole point is that they have this one solution and you need to find it, and logic that out. This is not that, like, you can make something that's just entirely huge and the slowest thing ever, but you'll win. You'll beat the level. But if you are crazy like I am and like this guy is on Steam, then you can just try and get it to absolute perfection and the most optimized thing ever. Exactly like, you know, someone who's obsessive about programming. Yeah,
it is like the equivalent of having like built-in timers and speedrun kind of stuff. Like we just did when we did Super Metroid for Watch Out for Fireballs, like that game gives you a timer and a percentage at the end. It was Nintendo saying, we know this game's only 5 hours, but you can get it short. That's going to be incentivized. You can do it with a low percentage. You can 100% it. Like, this is meant to be obsessed over and done over and over again. And like making that kind of thing mandatory is one of the worst things a game can do, I think.
Agreed.
And making it optional is one of the best things a game can do.
Yeah. It's definitely something I like that a lot in games where there's enough of a game that completing it feels satisfying, but that there's all that room and especially built-in metrics to help you like actually want to do better.
Yeah. And better in a way that's not just, you know, like just more of the same game. Like it's iterative.
Yeah.
Like you're going over the same stuff you've gone over in different ways and approaching it in different ways. And this one is weird because it's not based on reflexes. Like you doing better with the time attack shit in this game is just thinking better. You know, like, and that's cool. Like that you don't see a lot. Like usually, I mean, there's optimizing a speedrun route obviously does take brains as well. Like it is strategic.
And a lot of time, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is 100% just your brain power. It's not you getting better at twitching, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah,
I'm a little surprised that it actually caught you enough to see essentially what I see about it. So
yeah, it is. I mean, in the spirit of full disclosure, like I'm probably not going to play a lot of it.
Right.
Like I dig it though. Like it is. I think this is a really good example of something that's not for me. And I love seeing anything be really great. You know, like and like a very good example of something, even if it's not for me, is still really cool. You know, like I'll go, you know, like same that goes for like concerts and movies and stuff, like the best of the best. Like, you know, this is a dumb example. It's just the first one that comes to my head, but like I'm a real big champion of the movie As Good as It Gets. I don't like a lot of romantic comedies, but I think that movie is really, really good. Really good at what it does.
Yeah.
So it's like, I like watching that movie be great at that, you know?
It's an amazing comparison.
Yeah, it is a little bit off, but this is kind of like that. Like this isn't for me necessarily,
but you can see why it's good.
Yeah, it's really, I think it's really high quality as a game.
Yeah, and these guys are putting a lot of updates into it, and they're just a really nice team to support. I'm pretty sure I met Zach at for their previous game. Man, what was the name of it? It was like a card based like tactical game set in like an alternate history where there's steam mechs.
We talked about doing that game.
Yeah,
we never did, but you were like, we gotta do this game. It's by the guy who did Space Chem.
Yeah,
and then we just didn't.
Well, and it's I thought that game was high quality and not quite what I wanted from them. But when I talked to Zach about it at PAX one year, they were like hyping up that game. I was like, man, this game's cool and it's very pretty and very well done, but I want something more like Space Chem. And he was like, well, keep an eye out. And I was like, oh shit. And this was that game, and he fulfilled everything I wanted. So
that's awesome.
Good job to the Zachtronics guys. Like, this is fantastic.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, so if that sounds like your kind of thing, I don't think you can do better.
Yeah, I agree.
But it does have a specified audience. So check and see if it is your thing, because even for like early access, it's a little spendy.
Mm-hmm.
It's full feature and everything like that, but it's not a light investment.
Yeah.
So so just make sure it's your thing. If it is, you're gonna be laughing.
Yeah, so. play Space Chem. You can get it cheap in like every bundle there's ever been. So if that game appealed to you in any way, this is that, but better. So
cool.
All right. So Gary, tell me what you like and a little bit about Nuclear Throne.
Yeah. So Nuclear Throne is a action roguelike, Isaac-like. By Vlambeer, released late 2013. Vlambeer has done a lot of really cool shit. They did Super Crate Box. They did Ridiculous Fishing, which is an iOS game that won a bunch of awards and is really good. Lufrausers, which I haven't played, but people really like.
Yeah.
It's a cool company. And this is, we keep talking about like Isaac likes. Like, I think this is probably the one that's gotten closest.
I agree.
For me, and the one I'm going to actually put time into. It's this post-apocalyptic game where you play this group of mutants making your way from floor to floor, similar to like Crypt of the Necrodancer or Isaac, and gaining kind of random power-ups. But it plays enough differently than Isaac to to feel like its own thing.
Yeah.
Like, scratches the itch. Like, it doesn't scratch quite the same like crazy synergies itch. It does scratch an itch though. Like, the two things it does scratch that I wasn't expecting it to is a little bit of like Hotline Miami.
Yeah.
And a little bit of Gamma World, like the D&D.
Yeah, it definitely.
4th edition thing. It's like a little bit like a Gamma World action roguelike.
Yeah, so what separates this from Isaac is primarily that it's mouse aim and not 4-directional dual stick shooter. And like you get 10 levels, and each one of those levels you get a selection of 4 mutations. If you leveled up during the level, then at the end of the level you select a mutation, and each character has their own powers. So those powers do kind of synergize with different abilities better. Like, if someone starts with low health, you're going to want mutations that help them with their health. If you got so you have to kind of build on those, and then you pick up random guns during the level too, which all have different properties. And ammo is like a huge scarcity problem in this game. So it's a lot of balance of a bunch of different mechanics, but still manages to keep that roguelike-y, Isaac-y feel.
Mm-hmm. It is so there are like you are going for a build similar to Isaac. It's not so much as how the items interact as much as it is with Isaac.
Yeah, I agree.
And it felt like there were fewer items. Like, I saw a lot of the same power-ups pop up. So this game is in early access as well. I imagine that's something that's going to change, the power-up number. And the power-ups are also less immediately kind of bombastic.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like, get a percentage chance to gain this on a kill, things like that. But like, one of the reasons why it's interesting and works is that it is like pace. So like Isaac, a lot of people who just get into Isaac, who find it really hard, probably think of Isaac as a pretty fast-paced game, because they're not used to kind of dodging and stuff. But really, like, Isaac enemies, projectiles move pretty slow. The enemies often move in either like pretty predictable patterns or just towards you.
Right.
So it's pretty slowly paced, whereas Nuclear Throne is much faster paced. Like, more enemies have projectiles. There are bigger arenas, so you could potentially be dealing with more enemies at a time. Mm-hmm. And there are kind of bullet hell enemies right out the gate.
Yeah, and health is also a like very scarce resource on top of like your max health always being fairly low, and you can take 1 or 2 damage from every hit. So
Yes.
there's not a lot of room for not dying. Like
Yeah,
that,
I'm really bad at this so far.
me too. Yeah.
And like I feel like I was really bad at Isaac when I first started. So it's like I know people do get good at this game.
Right.
Unlike other kind of Isaac likes or roguelites that I've played, like I don't feel like it's the game. I feel like it's just like I just need to get it. You know?
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt too. Like there's definitely a lot of games where you're like, okay, like I'm not sure if I need to keep going with this to get it, if it's just not clicking with me yet, or if there's just not much substance there compared to what I'm looking for. This I definitely, and like reading and watching Northern videos and stuff, I'm like, there's definitely more substance here than I'm able to get to yet.
Right. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like there's I've run into a couple bosses, I've run into a couple different like interesting items and guns, but I just know that there's more to it, and I feel like there's depth to it.
Yeah.
That I haven't had. I had like a one weird random event happen where these like cops spilled out of something and started attacking me. I don't know what they were. The characters are all pretty well differentiated too, and they're not as stingy with them as Isaac, where like Isaac you unlock based on play. I've unlocked almost all the characters in this, and I have no idea what I did or why. Like I just would start playing again, and it's like, oh, here's another person who's available. I think there's only one or two that aren't.
Yeah,
for me.
I think like one of them you get for your first death. So it's like,
yeah,
okay, that's easy. And yeah, so I think you start off with like 4 or 5 of them off the gate. Like right out the gate, and then getting to a level gets you one of them, dying gets you another one. So they come pretty quick.
And they don't quite play almost as differently as the Isaac characters do, but there are more of them, and the they're more like situational. You know, like an Isaac, like, you know, the way that a Judas run in Isaac feels so different from a Maggie run. There's nothing that's quite that opposite. You know, or like a Maggie run to a Blue Baby run or something like that. Like, there's nothing quite that far apart. But you can find just like the abilities are fairly balanced. You just find the thing you like.
I think there's some that are pretty crazy out there. Like the fish guy can roll dodge and like get out of bullets. The crystal guy can like hard from him. So they both have defensive stuff. But there's another guy who his right click ability just spawns a homie and takes one of your health away, or like your health away.
Yeah. So, but like the things that are unique about them would be power-ups in Isaac.
Yeah, exactly. So they're not, it's not like, not as much stat difference. Everybody starts with a gun of some sort and you can pick up random guns and those all do the same amount of damage. Mm-hmm. So I think someone has like slightly more damage, so it might take a little bit less to kill somebody, but it's definitely not quite as drastic of a like stat-based kind of I guess RPG
that's more what I meant. Like it's like a bunch of Isaacs that all start with one different starting item.
Yeah, that's
it's a bunch of Eden
what it
runs.
feels like. Yeah, it's Eden runs. There you
go. Without the stat differences, I guess the Eden runs have stat differences too. But like I really dig it. Like I want to get further and see what it has to offer and see like what things change and see what it's like to be empowered in it. Like I got to the boss of the second area and played it like a fairly decent amount.
Yeah.
You know, so I didn't get further than that because I would just die repeatedly, but I wanted to see what happens. Like, oh, like I've got some HP under my belt. Like I've got, you know, some really cool power-ups. Like what does this game do once you're empowered a little bit?
Yeah.
You know,
it's still really fucking hard.
You spend a lot of time like dodging and then cover. Like that's where the Hotline Miami stuff comes in.
Yeah.
For me, like you have to, enemies get bullet hell you really quick and you have to use the cover in the level.
Yeah, the bullets like go infinitely in a straight line. Mm-hmm. So there's no like, you know, this guy can't reach me with his bullet. If he shot one at you, you need to get behind cover to avoid it. Yeah,
or get perpendicular to it.
Yeah.
But the enemies also don't, like, bullets don't track, at least that I've run into. So like, and enemies don't try to lead you either. So like dodging is really effective. Like it's easier to dodge, but it's counteracted by the fact there are so many bullets on the screen.
Yeah.
Like you're just as likely to dodge into things.
I agree. Yeah.
Really cool, like really good soundtrack too.
Yeah, the soundtrack's great.
Yeah, the soundtrack's really cool. Like gets you really pumped and stuff. It's got that quick restart. Like it takes almost no time for new levels and just to start over if you die. I really like it. It is the most successful of the Isaac likes. I mean, I really liked Crypt of the Necrodancer, but like this is I'll probably end up putting more time into this than that.
Yeah, I agree. It is early access. It's been in development for a long time. Like we said, I think it started as a jam game, an indie game jam. Came out as a demo, and they've just been pounding on it ever since. So the release date originally was October 11th, 2013. We're playing, you know, the most recent version of it, and there's still some like polish lacking. Like I don't think they have like an ending to it. From what I understand, if you're playing just a regular run and you get to the end, then you loop and you start over. So you're at the first level again, but with all your abilities that you've gotten through the game.
Just New Game Plus.
Yeah, so I don't think it ever has like an end point right now, which I'd like to see. And there's a lot of options in the menu that are just like, this is not working yet.
Yeah.
So it's obvious they're doing kind of gameplay and balance first, which is cool because it means it's something playable and you can go into it and play a bunch of stuff with it. And there's plenty to explore there. But man, I really hope they get a lot of the main overhaul polish done and get this out in a full release sometime soon, because this game definitely deserves a lot of love from the general public.
Yeah, and it's getting it. It's very it's pretty well thought of.
Yeah,
like a lot of YouTubers have this as part of their bread and butter and stuff. And it's so smart of them to make this really, really playable. And then, sorry, my computer's making noise.
No, you're fine.
The making it very playable right off the bat, because that's helping them with the getting out of early access. Like they stream their development sessions.
Mm-hmm.
So they and you can give them feedback. So it's literally every Tuesday and Thursday, Vlambeer from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Central do like talk about their game and work on it in front of people.
That's rad, man.
So like they're great. Like this is a good company. This is a good game. I'm way into it. It's weird that we are just now covering it a little bit.
Yeah.
But agree. I guess we didn't want to do it right after Rebirth because that would be weird.
Right.
But like I dig it. Like in the designs and stuff, the characters are all really goofy looking and strange. And like the actual powers they have are varied, like I didn't want to totally downplay that, because they do the plant guy's really interesting.
Yeah.
Who can like because you ammo management's so important in this. Like if you run out of ammo, like you don't have an unlimited ammo weapon with you, and you don't have a melee attack right off the bat. So like I had a level where like I ran out of ammo with the plant guy and had to try to find a new gun while only being able to slow people down with like my creep that I could create.
Yeah,
it was really cool. Like it was a cool moment.
Yeah, the graphics are very pretty. It's in Vlambeer's kind of pixelated style that they've come to be known for at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think isn't Vlambeer like a 2-person team too? It's really crazy.
It's very small. I don't know the exact specifics of it, but it's a really intimate team.
Yeah, the YouTuber stuff, like Northernlion just picked this up, and like as a huge Isaac fan, I watch a lot of Northernlion. But he's been playing it a lot recently because I guess fairly recently they introduced daily seeded runs where each day there's a seed and like leaderboards for it that you just go and play. And I think you can try it like as many times as you want, but you go in and try and make your way to the top of the leaderboard. So that's what Northernlion and a whole bunch of YouTubers have been doing and getting this game a lot of popularity by everybody competing on the same run every day. Yeah,
which is what Spelunky did.
Yeah,
and like that is a tactic that I'm so glad works, even though like it doesn't attract me.
Right.
Like I don't care about competing with everybody on a daily seed, but like it's such a good idea because people love it. You know, so very cool. Like really, really good game. Both these games are really, really great. Just decide what kind of thing you like. And these are both, great examples of those things.
Neither of them reference any sort of darkness or lack of light in their title.
They're both fairly bright. And I mean, I guess Infinifactory is probably pretty dark. But
it's infinite. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and nuclear is a very bright explosion.
Yeah, infinity has to be dark. Like there can't just be light for infinity. If there's infinity, there has to be a large portion of it that's nothing. So
that's true.
Thanks for joining us for that. We don't have a spoiler section. We haven't gotten far enough to be anywhere. But what can people do if they want to help out the show, Nick?
Yeah, so they can come and hang out with us on Facebook.com/checkitoutcomrade or at Twitter @ComradePodcasts. And as always, we here at the Duckfeed.tv network have a Patreon running at patreon.com/DuckFeedTV. And there, if you're able to help us out, pitch a little money every month. It's used to help us get new hardware and keep the shows running. So
yeah, it's really appreciated. And check out the other shows. And thanks for your support. And good night, everybody.
Good night.